All right, Mr. Jeffrey, sing it.
Hey, no, well, don't put me on that spot.
Yep. All right. Well, let's roll. So
Great.
it is industry update. I trust that we didn't have one last week because of Memorial Day, and everybody had a fun, safe Memorial Day. And then certainly the purpose of the holiday is to be in memory, right? So I trust everybody had that. Let's jump into our numbers, sir.
Let's go.
All right.
Hey, I'm excited to see and hear,
Excited to
what's
see and
shifted
hear
the
what?
past 2 weeks.
All right. So you're going to see this V. Can you see my pointer?
Yep.
We're going to call that the Memorial Day dip.
Okay.
So obviously, people don't like to have their house shown or be active in the MLS during or new listings during Memorial Day holiday, which that's debatable, right? Because obviously people are out looking at real estate, but for whatever reason, you always see a dip around a holiday, right? So that's what that V is.
Look, if you look back to Christmas week has a V, and Thanksgiving week has a V also. Yeah.
So most holidays typically create I wouldn't say artificial because it's real, but a short blip in trend. So don't overjudge the V, I guess the way to say it. However, if you're looking at this, we got 789 active listings, Fulton County. I keep making mention, you got to go all the way back to early October to catch a higher active inventory than where we're at right now. Wow. So that's pretty awesome for Fulton County. But here's the thing we got to make sure we're paying attention to, Jeffrey, are the closings and the active under contracts, they're not going down, causing this to go up. And if these were going down, it would create a little bit of a concern. But you can see here, 413 Memorial Day dip, 466, 474. We're still hanging kind of high on the closings on a 7-day total, and active under contract might have gone down just a little bit, but nothing of anything of concern at the moment.
Great.
DeKalb County, same kind of story, Memorial Day dip. However, I see 2 lines going down in DeKalb County around pendings and closings.
What would you contribute that to?
One, it's too early to tell.
Okay.
But 2, we're waiting to see, is this a holiday thing or is this just maybe it's cooling off a little bit? I don't know. We're not in any kind of crazy trend here yet, but active inventory certainly is at a good level in DeKalb, so we're happy with that. Cobb County Memorial Day dip, good active inventory, pendings and closings, just kind of holding the line here, right? So we feel decent about pendings and closings here. I'll throw Gwinnett up, and then I want to show one more thing. So active inventory is still high in Gwinnett, all-time high from what we've been tracking. Pendings and closings, kind of holding that line, maybe a little lower than what it's been, but we're still kind of holding that line. Here's the other thing I want to keep an eye on, Jeffrey, expireds.
Okay, let's go. Talk about it.
So we've got 15, which if you just look here, you'd think, oh my gosh, that's a lot more expireds than what we've been seeing. However, you got to get the perspective. For whatever reason, agents write their listing agreements to expire at the end of months. So you'll always see a spike at the end of the month. A month ago, we had 16. This month, we had 15 in Gwinnett County. In Cobb County, you had 13. A month ago, you had 18. DeKalb County, we had 35. A month ago, we had 19. So I actually am seeing more in DeKalb than the other counties, and 53 in Fulton, 46 a month ago, maybe a little higher, but nothing crazy. I think, real estate's a local business, and it sure looks like there's a chance DeKalb's getting hit a little harder than some of the other counties. But too early to tell. We're not seeing any crazy signs right now. What do you see, Jeffrey?
It's interesting because I know we'll probably discuss it in a little bit, but seeing price reductions, Brett, I haven't felt as many expireds in terms of, following up, digging down an expired, but starting to feel a lot of price reductions, starting to feel like a buyer has a little more say.
Yep. We're going to dive into these price reductions.
But it is interesting to me to watch the expireds, because that's kind of where I track in terms of our business of, okay, how are we pricing? Why are we priced so high? Why is this not selling after 14 days on the market?
Yep. Perfect. All right. Let's jump over to this article. So, it's kind of common knowledge. There's a class action lawsuit going on with NAR, and somehow KW has gotten a little bit of a headline about this buyer agent commission class action lawsuit. However, I want to use this as a teaching moment for a minute. Couple things. One is there are audio recordings that are being turned in from agents talking about when they call on listings and find out that the buyer agent commission is less than what their expected percentage is supposed to be. They're making some pretty off comments. Here's the comments they're making. Don't worry about it. I won't bother to show it. Who's your local agent, though? Because I'll make sure to tell them not to work with them. And imagine an agent saying this on a telephone call when they find out that the commission rate's not the typical whatever expected percentage. Or, are you kidding me? Forget it. Bye. Or, hey, I'll just tell my buyers that property sold. Here's the reminder or the teaching moment. There are Ring cameras on houses. There are cameras in houses. There are people that record telephone calls. You realize it is against the law to steer a buyer away from a listing that doesn't offer the same commission rate as others. It's against the law. And one, I want to use this as a reminder around be careful, because you can be recorded or filmed or all the above. And two, I want to use this as a reminder around professionalism. And here's what I mean. If you sit down with a buyer and do a buyer consultation and say, listen, here's what this consultation looks like, is I work for you. I charge blank percentage. And on the rare occasion that property doesn't necessarily agree to that compensation, you're just agreeing to make up the difference. You're not going to be blindsided by it. I'll tell you on the front end. But at the end of the day, I'm a professional, and this is what you get from me in fiduciary responsibility. And this is what compensation looks like. Agents are not doing that, Jeffrey. And they're not consulting their clients around agency relationship and compensation. And quite honestly, the practice has been, hey, sign this at time of contract. So I have it in my file. And that creates the problem, right? It should be a professional thing done on the front end. Make sense?
It does. And the new, I guess it was updated in January of this year, the new Georgia buyer brokerage agreement, actually it makes it easier to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Than it did in the past.
Perfect. So let's go back to being professionals. Next article, Jeffrey. This is the Atlanta Business Chronicle. It said Atlanta suburbs like Tucker, Clarkson offer cheaper alternatives for first-time homebuyers. We don't have to go through this whole article, but I think there's areas of cities that get redeveloped sometimes when real estate becomes scarce. And I think there's opportunities for first-time homebuyers that are going to show up, and they're going to look different than the opportunities of the past. We've talked in the past on our Northwest Georgia update. We're seeing a lot of first-time homebuyers go out of the concentric circles to get their first home. And I think when people are stuck to wanting to live close to downtown or more the metropolitan area, they're going to end up buying homes in areas that you may or may not have expected them to in the past. So it's just certainly an awareness thing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, here's the article that I would use as encouragement around your pipeline. And we've been talking about this forever. There's going to be a moment in time where the buyers in the pipeline are going to have an opportunity to purchase again, where they didn't over the past few months or even years. And it looks like that opportunity is starting to show up. And here's what it says. The report released Thursday found out that 1 in 5 sellers dropped their asking price in May. So there's a couple conversations we're going to have about this. One is buyers' opportunity. It is before us. Re-engage. The proactive real estate agent is going to win here. The passive aggressive or passive real estate agent is going to miss this opportunity, where the aggressive real estate agent is going to have buyers moving at a fast pace. Anything you'd add to that?
No, I mean, I'm interested to see where you're going with that, but it all goes back to me we kind of got to get back to the basics.
Right.
We have to actually nurture clients now. And we can nurture and poise buyers in a way to where they can win without being in a bidding war and ready to pounce on these that lower their prices and put them better into a more attainable price point.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to show you a trick, and this is going to be a little eye-opening. You ready? So I'm going to pull up my KW mobile app here. And on my KW mobile app, I have all the listings pretty much in my current area, right? And you can see the price range is anywhere from 1.25 million all down to 540, 335. It's all price ranges, right? So Jeffrey, see this little more button on the top right?
Okay.
If you click more and you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a little toggle switch that says price reduced in the last 7 days. I'm going to hit that little toggle switch, and then I'm going to hit show and look at all the listings that reduced their price in the last 7 days.
Wow. So if I have
what do you think that looked like a year ago?
Oh, I mean, you probably could have had a toggle of like, we raised our prices after going on the market. So right. If I have buyers in my pipeline, Brett, what's the conversation I need to be having with them this afternoon in regarding
opportunity? Conversation with buyers. I mean, no matter where I move my thing here, there's a lot of price reduction.
Brett, is it just the ones with the gray price or the ones with the little green box?
No, any listing on the screen is a reduced listing. And watch. So I'll click on any of these and it's going to show reduce $5,000.
Yep.
See it? All these $299, reduce $41,000, $775.
So then the skills-based agent is having this conversation with their buyer of opportunity, but then also with their sellers, of pricing strategically to to make more money, not pricing it at the top.
Yeah. So here's two things. And Horace, I see your hand. Give me a second. I'll get right to you. One is it's a conversation of opportunity with a buyer. And two, I now have something to show my seller when I'm having an awkward conversation around, hey, I think we actually need to reduce your price. What? Yes, I actually think to stay competitive, we're going to need to reduce your price. Let me show you what the market looks like right now. All these listings reduced their price in the last 7 days. And, you know, Jeffrey, here's the real opportunity of right now. We hadn't had price reduction kind of conversations in a long, long time. And it's before us a little bit because demand is slowing down and the skill set is pricing it right the first time. And I always explain to people, like, you got the cool shirt on today, so I'm going to use your shirt. But if I walked into Nordstrom's to buy a cool shirt like yours, and I walk into the main section of Nordstrom's and I see the shirts on the shelf with full price, I'm actually an emotional buyer looking for a cool shirt and I'm willing to pay the full price. And I'm looking for what I fall in love with or I would think would look like a good shirt. And I see a value in that shirt. But if I walk across the men's department and I go find the sale rack, my mindset shifts. Now I'm looking for a deal. And I'm looking for the shirt that's a discounted price, but I still like it. And I'm a different buyer inside the same store because one is a sales rack and one is a new to market rack. And I use that analogy with houses because you really want to be the new to market rack and hit it right the first time. And that's a skill set. Go.
And using that analogy, you know where to go to find the deal, though. You're not sitting there looking for the deal in the front section on the mannequin. 100%. You're educated on where to go find that deal. And I think as real estate professionals, we need to be poised and prepped and know the market of where can you go to get this deal that you're looking for, if you're looking for a deal. Yeah.
And Mark Jones put in the chat, he said, we need to price ahead of the market. I couldn't agree more.
Define that. Define what that means for, you know, somebody who's taken on their first or second listing and pricing it out.
Yeah, it's showing up to industry update and getting these conversations, right? Like in the past, you can go into an MLS and get data till you're blue in the face of what's happened in the past. And you can have a value conversation with a seller around what their home should sell for based on history of what others have sold for. But what you have to bring to the table on top of that is what I would consider to be a forecast, meaning, hey, this is what we're seeing in the next 30 days. This is what we're seeing in the next 90 days. I think you need to be pricing this way to get the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time of what's coming in the next 30 days. Mark, you put the comment in there. Why don't you comment on it?
Yeah, it's just, I was just going to say, it's always like looking at the direction of the market, right? So for the past couple of years, the market's just been doing this and going straight up. So it was harder to overprice a property in the past couple of years. Right now, the market is slowing down. So you don't price it ahead of the last comp and higher than the last comp. You're going to price it slightly lower than the last comp. And if it's too low, the market will bring it up because competition will make that happen. But I don't think you can overprice or underprice right now, but you can certainly overprice. And that's what's resulting in a lot of these price reductions you're seeing.
So you think the price reductions are based on agents not pricing properly?
Yep. Not
as much interest rates are out.
Well, so it's both, right? So if they were pricing it thinking, oh, prices are still growing. So let me price this way out here. And because interest rates have gone up, demand is slowing down. So their sort of wishful thinking about what prices were doing isn't as realistic anymore. So they're having to reduce the price. And what we see in markets, depending on how quickly it's going down, in the last pandemic or last recession rather, when it was really bad, people were chasing the market down, and like every time they did a price reduction, it wasn't enough because the market was sinking faster than they were. So not that the market's sinking right now, but it's the same concept. Like right now, things are slowing down. Price it a little bit less than the previous comp, and you'll probably still get multiple offers. If you price it ahead of it, it might sit there.
Yeah.
I mean, the days of just picking the price, it'll sell no matter what. Agents just kind of letting the seller choose, those are over. Those are in the past. You have to actually consult a seller around the right price right now. And you got to have scripts and dialogues and objection handling around having reality conversations with the seller around what the right price is at the listing table. And quite honestly, that's a skill set I'm not sure we've done a great job of training around in the last 2 years because we hadn't needed to, right? And maybe we need to go back and teach a lot of skill sets around pricing and duly noted, right? All right, I want to jump to one other thing before we run out of time here, guys, is I attended an event with Gary Keller recently where he went over a state of the industry. And I wanted to show you a couple slides that I think are important to understand. One is unemployment, right? And Gary talks about how as long as unemployment's less than 6%, the government's not necessarily motivated to do anything. Well, monthly, right now, we are sitting at 3.6% unemployment, which the comment is basically, anybody that wants a job can get a job right now. Like we're pretty much a full employed economy. However, to prove my point, let's go back here to pandemic. Employment spiked to 14.7, and it took until March 2021 to get down below 6% again. What did the government do in this period of time?
I mean, I think I know it's when they were handing out money, right?
PPP.
I mean, it's
PPP, economic stimulus, all the above, right? So the government steps in and pulls the employment back down under 6. But as long as we're under 6, you're not going to see the government doing any kind of economic stimulus or anything because unemployment is really good on this statistic. Okay. You can see where they stepped in, and that's why they did it, right? Because unemployment got out of control. If you go to GDP, which is basically consumption, the money we spend, we were high in 2021. But don't let that deceive you, because when you start to look at it on a quarterly basis, we actually went backwards in consumption in first quarter 2022. And the, I'm being photobombed. This is great. They're going to try and draw something pornographic here in a minute, guys. Let's take that down. Sorry about that. But anyway, the unfortunate part of that is that, can you try to figure out that, Stephen?
So with the being down,
the definition of recession is 2 quarters going backwards consecutively. And what you need to understand is that it takes 7 months to declare that, because they actually have to wait for the data to show up. So we're actually going to feel that way before they ever do. And is that something to know? Well, what you need to know is that the government is going to declare recession. They're going to say it's going to be in the news media, blah, 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 right? And then you're going to see that probably come July, but we're already kind of feeling it anyway. And remember, I'm on here bringing all information, not as much as the leader in me wants to fluff it. and tell you only the shiny good news stuff. I don't think that necessarily means it's going to be bad for us in real estate. It just means you're going to hear the national news media.
Well, and that's why these calls are so important, because we need to be the educator of our clients, not them flipping on the news at 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yep. So inflation, U.S. government wants inflation below 2%. If it's above 2%, they're going to take action. Obviously, we're above 2% now. The way the government takes action is where they raise interest rates. The good news is this is something that we can control or pull back down. So when did, Jeffrey, when did the U.S. government start raising interest rates?
Is it March? February, March?
Yeah. We started slowly in February, and by March, the rates were starting to go up. When did inflation start to come down?
Right after that, April, May.
It just slowly started to come down in late March, early April.
Okay.
And it hadn't come down much, but you can see on this graph that it actually changed the trend, right?
Yep.
So in other words, the fiscal policy of raising interest rate on the short run is looks like it's working. So you're seeing inflation start to come back down a little bit.
Right.
And then the last thing that I wanted to point out on this chart is days on market. And here's what's interesting. If you look at 2022, we started January 2022 with 43 days on market, which felt pretty normal. And then we ended 2020 with 21 days on market. In 2021, we went from 21 to 19 days. We just stayed hot, right? However, in January, we were 19. We've come down to 17. And what I think you're going to see is the days on market start to creep up through the end of the year. And it's going to feel weird. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to be more than 43, which felt pretty normal, like if you get the perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at inventory, inventory in 2022, the blue line has slowly started to creep up a little bit. We went from 1.6 months to 2.2. It's important to see that going up, right?
And you believe that's going to bring it more balanced?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Mark Jones, will you hit mute? Your angry typing is awfully loud over there. All right. So at the end of the day, inventory's climbing. Make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. This is great.
So Jeffrey, give me a summary of today's conversation. What are my talking points? What do I need to know about? Or what do I need to translate out of these conversations? Definitely
buyers, communicate today with your pipeline, updating them on price reductions that have hit the market, and especially coming off of a weekend where property didn't sell. And then big conversation to your list at your listing appointments and with your sellers of you really got to listen to me. I'm an expert. I'm a local expert. And I know where we need to price your property and actually know where to price the property.
There you go. There's your industry update. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.